Hello, I'm More Like Rock, a game master for the Warhawk Division servers. In this video, I'll show you what Game Master Mode is, how it works, and how you can use it to create your own living battlefield in real time. If you're new here, let's take a step back for a second. Arma Reforger is a military sandbox game developed by Bohemia Interactive, and unlike fast-paced shooters, Arma tries to focus on realism with large-scale battles and player-driven moments. From scripted scenarios to pure chaos and PvP, everything that happens is the result of either player decisions, AI, or the environment itself. The maps can vary in size, with most of the vanilla maps being large, and engagements can last for hours on these maps, with teamwork being everything. There are a multitude of different game modes, both vanilla and modded. Some, like Conflict, focus on capturing objectives and taking control of territory. Others, like PvE Conflict or Game Master servers, share similar goals, but with the enemy team being controlled by AI units. Now, this is where Game Master Mode comes in. Game Master Mode turns Arma Reforger into a live interactive sandbox, where one player will take control of the battlefield itself. Instead of fighting on the ground, the Game Master acts like a director. They place units, create objectives, and they shape the mission while the players are already in it. Game Masters can use the mechanics in-game to create thrilling stories, explosive firefights, and tension over the course of a single mission or a campaign. If players flank an objective early, you can reinforce it. If they're struggling, you can shift the mission back a bit to keep things fun and challenging. Game Master Mode is what allows Arma Reforger sessions to feel dynamic, unpredictable, and completely unique every single time. When you load into Game Master, you'll see this HUD pop into view. At the top, you've got server-related tools and GM viewing tools. Tools such as End Session, Map, Night Vision, Brighter Night Mode, Toggle Interface, Guided Tour, and Server Cleanup. For the most part, you can leave most of these tools alone until you feel comfortable using them. The Map tool lets you open up the map in the GM mode, but you can also just press the M shortcut key to open and close it. Night Vision applies a blue night vision filter to assist you in nighttime operations and setups. Local Brighten or Night mode just makes your current view slightly brighter, especially towards dusk and the early morning hours. Guided Tour is probably going to be your best friend for getting started with Game Master. It explains camera movement keys, your action toolbar, the scenario properties, the entity browser, transforming, and a few additional GM controls. I highly recommend using the Guided Tour to understand the GM camera movements and keys. A similar example to GM is Halo's Forge mode. Consider yourself a flying camera when you're viewing the battlefield. On the bottom left of the HUD is the scenario properties, like the date and time, weather, and server uptime. You can press V to open up the scenario properties and change many different details. You can tweak the playable factions, AI behavior and skill, the weather, and many other characteristics. The server I use for my examples runs a mod called Game Master Enhanced by the GME mod team. This mod increases the amount of details that you can change in your scenario. I highly recommend using it, and I've placed a link below if you'd like to check it out. The very bottom of your HUD is your entity browser. This is your bread and butter of Game Master. All your units, objects, vehicles, abilities, and FX are filtered in this browser. You have 4 tabs available to switch between, and if you hit tab, you can full screen the browser and edit your filters. For example, let's say I want to spawn a Soviet Special Forces sniper. I would open my entity browser, left click to delete any old filters at the top of the search, and then click on the categories for the entity I want. So I would click Soviet, and because I only want one person, I would click Character. And then if you really wanted to, you could search through this filters that you've already put in place to find the character you're looking for. Or you can scroll down and add slightly more filters just to sharpen your search. So I would add Sharpshooter. Now I have the available list of all Soviet sharpshooters to pick from. But maybe, what if you wanted to see all of the available sharpshooters? Easy. All you'd have to do is go to the filters on the top right and left click to remove one of the filters. Now I have all the available sharpshooters in every faction. If you're having trouble finding something that you really want, you can also use the search bar with keywords at the top to find the filter or object that you're trying to find. I recommend having your entity tabs be one faction with different filter types. Whenever I GM, I usually have my first tab as Soviet compositions or defenses, my second tab as Soviet groups, my third as Soviet characters, and my fourth as Soviet vehicles. If you don't want to open the entity browser, you can also use the middle mouse scroll wheel to move through that tab. Now that we have an understanding of Game Master and its HUD, we can take a deeper look into the camera movements and mechanics. My example will be for PC, but you can check all the controls within the settings if you need to see console controls. Again, for Game Master movement and camera movement, I highly suggest the guided tour. It will be your friend and it helped me a lot when I first got started. Your movement keys will be WASD, Shift, Q and Z, right click, and middle mouse scroll. These will be some of your most used movement keys when you're in the Game Master mode. W moves you forward, S moves you back, A moves you left, and D moves you right. Q moves your camera up, and Z moves your camera down. If you want to get a different view of something that is either behind you or around you, you can hold right click to scroll, look around in a 360 view. When you're moving with movement, like holding W, you can right click and drag to look in different directions. But note that when you drag, you can hold shift to do almost like a sprint with your camera. It'll move your camera just slightly faster than your normal movement mode. You can change this by holding right and using the middle mouse scroll wheel up to 16 times and all the way down to 0.1 times. 0.1 times is like a snail's pace, and 16 times feels like you're moving like a fighter jet. You can tweak these to find the setting you like, but I highly recommend leaving it on its normal level. An easier way to move around without using the movement or speed tools is to move your camera. If you right click anywhere on the ground, you'll get a few options and you can see the move camera option. This will move only your Game Master camera and not your player character. There's another option for player character movement that will not move your camera, and vice versa. You don't need to have a player character available to play as a GM, so you can always just delete them if you need to. Now let's say you want to get to a different spot on the map, but you need to be quick about it. Instead of flying over there at Mach 16, you can open your map, look at where you want to go, right click, and move camera. Now you'll see on my map that my purple camera is viewing the town, And when I click M again to drop my map, I should see the church of a new town in front of me. You can right click anywhere and do move camera if you need to get around or get a different perspective of the battlefield. Thank you for joining me today to learn about the Game Master mode, Arma Reforger, the HUD, the interface, and movement controls, as well as camera controls. Next time, we'll go over spawning and controlling units, managing the environment, and creating and managing objectives.